welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about why we picked the side-by-side that we did. And I'm going to kind of let my wonderful husband here take the reins on the whole thing, just so I don't miss anything and I don't say anything wrong. So,
hello everyone. So basically we started with a Honda Pioneer 1000 Limited, and we bought it for a multi-purpose to be able to use it around the house / go off-roading with it. Took it to Windrock a few different times and it was a great machine. It was very quiet. That's what was the awesome thing about the transmission on it versus obviously the CVT. Then I got to experience my cousin's KRX 1000, and there's a night and day difference between a multi-purpose machine and a true off-roading sport utility vehicle. So, or RTV is what they're actually labeled as. And that had me / us looking into doing more research on the different ones that are out there. So obviously one of the first ones that I looked at was the Honda Talon, and it's a great machine. It has the transmission, which is something that I really wanted versus the CVT, but there are a few things about the Talon that didn't spark my interest as much. Obviously Shock Therapy has a little video about the geometry of it, on how the suspension works. They have both the Honda Talon X and R. I was liking the R better for its capabilities, but the X better for its suspension. The other thing that I don't like about it as much is it doesn't have actually true locking differentials on the front. It has the intelligent four-wheel drive like the Pioneer did, and it didn't seem to have any issues, but I didn't really do a whole lot of rock crawling with it like I hope to do at Windrock with the new machine. So the Talon, great with the transmission, and it does have the Fox live valve, but it's not as good of a suspension system as what the machine we have now has. So moving on from the Talon, going on to the CanAm X3. Did some research on it. Once again, kind of listened and watched a bunch of videos from people. Shock Therapy is one of the biggest ones on that. They said CanAm is a great machine, but you're gonna have to put in quite a few $1,000s in parts, not accessories, just in parts, to make it an extremely reliable machine. The one thing I will say that's cool about the CanAm, you do sit a little bit lower in it. The whole machine sits a little bit lower, but I'm not sure if I 100% like the look of the CanAm. Some people say that they don't like the look of the Polaris RZR Pro. Not sure why. I haven't ran into anybody personally that doesn't like the look of it. But the other thing, the CanAm's back compartment is kind of weird. It doesn't actually have a storage compartment that kind of goes down. It just kind of sits on top. So that was kind of one of the biggest things, and kind of threw me off when I heard that you had to put all that extra money into upgrading it, with not just accessories, but the actual machine itself. Moving on from that, you have the Yamaha XZ. Honestly, the biggest reason I didn't do too much research into it, it has a manual transmission, and although I wanted a transmission, didn't really want to deal with the manual part of it, because I've seen a lot of videos and seen people constantly stall them out, and the last thing I want to try to deal with when I'm on the trails is worried about shifting and dealing with the clutch. So basically that was the reason why I didn't really look into it. Going on from there, you have the different Polarises. Obviously ended up going with a Polaris, but they make many different models. The Turbo S, great machine. The only thing is it only has an CanAm X 1.0, their original system at the moment, and I'm sure that'll be upgraded to the 2.0 very shortly. Honestly, the reason why is it's a 72-inch wide machine. Didn't want to go to a 72-inch, wanted to stick to the 64-inch wide just for the trail riding here in East Tennessee. There are a few spots that I've gone through that I'm not sure if a few of the 72-inch machines could go through unless they're just running over the tree or whatever they're gonna do in order to try to get through there. I don't wanna take that challenge. And there's a few spots even with rocks that I've seen some people do it, but they've definitely scratched up their machine a lot more than you would if you had a little bit smaller or narrower machine. You have the Turbo just a standard XP 1000 turbo. Basically, the reason why I didn't go with that is everything on this machine is supposedly been upgraded. The axles were an issue on the original turbo. They're stronger, the clutch is a bit better. Obviously, they did have the recall on this machine for their clutch exploding. They've gotten that taken care of. Luckily, we weren't part of that recall on the 21s. We were part of it, but we weren't affected by the recall. Thank goodness. Going on from there, you have the Kawasaki K1000. My cousin obviously owns one. I was able to drive it. Handles extremely well. Does lack a little bit in power. Majority of the time it doesn't matter, but there are a few occasions where it is nice to have that little bit extra power, and I do see where it does lack. It rides very well with its Fox shocks. Wish it did have adjustability on the fly, like either the Fox Live Valve from Honda or on the Polaris. I know BRP CanAm does have their smart shocks. Did a little bit of research into that, but I don't know too much about that, but I did like the dynamics on this. Going back to the Kawasaki, everything on that machine is extremely well built. It's strong. There's very little issues so far on the 21s. I know they fixed a few things from 20 to 21, but the thing that impresses me the most about the Kawasaki is the CVT belt never goes above 2 bars. And my cousins used it pretty hard trying to get it to go above 2 bars and can't seem to ever get it to go above 2 bars. We honestly thought something was broken on it by doing that. So honestly, my choice really did come down to either the Kawasaki or the Polaris. And honestly, the biggest reason we went with the Polaris is the features that come on this machine. One thing I meant to mention on the Kawasaki was it is 68 inches, so it's kind of in a class of its own in between the two. And I've seen him go through the trails. There are a few spots that he kind of sneaks by and does scratch it up a little bit more than we do, but it's relatively close. But going wider than that, I just didn't want to deal with that part of it. Going on back to, now the reason why we bought this machine. This machine has the ride command, which is something that I wanted. Has built-in navigation, which is a great feature instead of having to always have an app on your phone up for the maps, depending on where you ride and whatnot. It has the dynamic suspension 2.0, which is an absolutely phenomenal system. It makes this ride so unbelievably smooth. Majority of the time, believe it or not, I actually put the machine in sport. I just think the machine handles the best in sport. Obviously, if you're on the road or going on just gravel trails, you can go on firm and be no issues. Comfort is extremely soft. You basically feel nothing, but you do bottom out a little bit more in comfort than you do in sport. The interior of this machine is awesome. It has tons of room. You have tons of storage. It's honestly, in my opinion, one of the best looking interiors on all the machines that are out there. It just looks really nice. It has more switches.
We'll do another video too on the inside.
The actual accessories on it, but the amount of switch spots that you have is insane. This does have locking differentials. It's the all-wheel drive, so you either have 2-wheel drive, or when you put it in all-wheel drive, obviously the front two only kick in when the back two slip, and then they're obviously spinning until the front two aren't needed anymore. So, and we've used it, and I really do like the way it handles. It corners very well. Like I said, the acceleration is insane. She got to actually go sit in both the Honda Talon and this, and to me this was the most comfortable with its seating. The seats have been said to be the most comfortable in the market, and I would agree with that. The other cool thing is the steering wheel and the cluster gauge are telescopic, and they go up and down. Basically, any position you want to put it in, you can put it in for short riders, tall riders, and just where you want to actually hold the steering wheel. So those are basically the reasons why we chose this machine. And going into what we talked about, we'll explain the accessories later, but that's also part of it. Polaris allowed you to put a lot of factory accessories on. One of the main things that she wanted in the thing was having the stereo. So, that being the case, it already came with the 2 front speakers and the little tweeters that I'll show you, and then you could upgrade to their stage 3, which is the subwoofer, and then their stage 4. And it was all factory hidden spots on the machine, and you didn't have to try to do anything aftermarket. And I just like having things done factory or factory components. So basically that's it. Our next video, like we said, we'll talk about the different accessories that you can see on the machine.
Yeah. Please like and subscribe, especially to see that other video. And we will see you guys around on trails. And
oh, meant to also mention, if you have any questions about this machine or the Kawasaki, please feel free to ask. You can ask any questions. I'll try to answer them. I'll get my cousin to answer any of the questions about the Kawasaki that I don't know. I can tell you a little bit about the other machines because I've done a lot of research, but I haven't actually driven them, so I can't tell you on that basis of how well they handle and whatnot. It's just based off of listening to other people. So please feel free to ask any questions you have.
yeah. All right, y'all. Till next time.
Have a good one.